Stocks, crypto, real estate. Everyone knows that holding these investments can make you wealthy over the long term. But what are the top performing non-traditional investments you can invest in today? You know, the ones that can get you really rich, or the ones that normally only the already ultra wealthy invest into? In this video, we're going over 7 of the best alternative, non-obvious investments that can see explosive growth in value. If you want to invest like the top 1%, then you'll want to stick until the end. Thanks to Masterworks for sponsoring this video. Let's get started. Okay, so if you guys have never watched Sour Grapes on Netflix, I highly recommend doing so because the world of wine collecting is so fascinating and profitable. The documentary goes over the fine and rare wine auction market and centers in on Rudy Kurniawan, a wine savant that conned investors out of millions of dollars through his fake wines that he produced. Of course, I'm not telling you guys to go out and buy fake wine, the opposite actually, but you'll see just how much money there is to be made in investing in the wine market. As strange as it sounds, investing in wine not only has the potential for future growth and value, but is also tangible unlike many other investments. While stocks and bonds go through cycles of up and down, collectibles like fine wine often deliver returns with no correlation to traditional assets. This is a great way to diversify your portfolio because of how unique the value of wine is. Its value is based on factors that often have nothing to do with how the economy is doing, or interest rates, or things like consumer trends. All of these factors are unrelated to the overall stock market, which is what makes wine such an attractive addition to the traditional portfolio. Now, as for its performance, the LiveX Fine Wine 1000, which is an index that measures more than 1,000 traded wines, has been up over 270% between 2001 and 2021, meaning it outperformed the S&P 500 by 8% without reinvested dividends taken into account. There are also other indexes for wines, such as the Sotheby's Wine Index, which has also outperformed the S&P 500 since 2005. Experts in the wine community say that the quality and rarity of the product are key because it guarantees longevity, which allows the investor to be comfortable knowing that there isn't a time limit to their bottles. But of course, I can't tell you guys about the pros without also telling you about the cons, because wine does have costs that come with holding the asset. There's a buyer's premium, shipping and storage costs, insurance, and even the initial investment that you have to worry about when it comes to money spent. And if that was enough, the wine could take up to a decade or longer to reach its maximum value. So in short, wine is a super unique industry with even less investors, but like I said, it can be a very lucrative investment in the long term, and it's a great way to diversify if you have an interest in wine and you want to have something that performs differently from the markets and economy. If I ever take up wine tasting as a hobby in the future, I think investing into it would definitely be an option for me to level up my wine game. So now let's talk about number 6. So usually when people think of cars, they think depreciating hunks of metal. You drive off the lot and it loses 30% of its value, stuff like that. This one is interesting because it can make you a lot of money. It's super non-traditional, but unfortunately you sort of have to have a lot of money to do it, and that is buying and selling exotic cars. If you guys take a look at John Cena and the Ford GT that he bought, he literally made about $1 million buying that car at MSRP and then selling it. And there are tons of examples of other people doing something similar to this. Now, especially with the car market being the way it's been in recent years, we've seen prices grow tremendously on both used and new cars. For example, I bought my Ferrari 458 for $175,000 plus tax in late 2021, and its value is probably up at least $10,000 to $15,000. So essentially, I'm getting paid to drive an exotic car like that, and it all comes down to supply and demand. Supply is low as it's the last naturally aspirated V8 from Ferrari, and demand is up. Cars like that, which can become classics, will perform well in price for the long term. If you can buy these types of more special cars at the bottom of their depreciation curve, you'll often find that they tend to bounce back up in price at some point as long as the mileage is low, or they'll hold value quite well and act as an inflation hedge. So yes, it's crazy, but if you have the cash and connections to buy certain cars, you will pay less in the long run than driving a Mercedes E-Class, for example. A lot of cars are also impossible to get unless you have extensive purchasing power with that brand. For example, Ferrari's SF90 hybrid supercar is literally impossible to get, and it's selling for well over sticker price. So if you have the connections, you can buy one, drive it for a year, and then sell it for well over what you paid. Same with cars like the Lamborghini Huracan STO, Ford GT, Cadillac Escalade, and tons of other cars right now. So this won't apply to many of you guys watching this video, but it's great to know that someday when you have the capital and connections, you will be able to make a lot of money owning really cool cars. It's a super crazy thing that I just learned about these last couple of years, and it's definitely going to be a part of my investment strategy in the future. Okay, so the next section we're talking about is art, and I'm really excited because this is a really high performing asset that I have just started investing into. It's an asset that is is steadily growing in popularity among other alternative investments, with the average billionaire holding $31 million worth of art, and it makes sense why. Like gold, art is a commodity with the ability to appreciate in value over time and yield fantastic returns, which is why tons of famous celebrities and entrepreneurs like Leonardo DiCaprio, Kylie Jenner, and Jeff Bezos have also joined the art game. Now, traditionally, when you invest in a piece of art, you're buying it with the expectation that the price of the piece will increase over time and you can sell it for a profit. But that is easier said than done. The problem with investing in this market is that art is normally super expensive. Like, we're talking millions of dollars a piece, which makes investing in art impossible for people like you and me. Luckily, there's Masterworks, who's actually sponsoring this video, but I would have talked about them anyway since I use them myself. But yeah, Masterworks is the only platform where you can invest in art from names like Banksy, Monet, and other artists for just a fraction of what billionaires pay to purchase multi-million-dollar paintings. In return, you get a proportional stake in that piece of artwork, just like when you buy stocks for a company with the hopes that the valuation will increase in the future. And the Masterworks results speak for themselves. So since 2020, Masterworks has sold 3 paintings, with each returning over 30% net IRR to investors, and their new offerings usually sell out in hours. That 30+% return is actually crazy. The reason why I'm investing in art is because it's a great way to diversify, and it's a natural hedge for inflation, beating the S&P 500 for over 25 years. For example, take a look at the performance of Banksy's artwork, which has had an average annual price return of almost 20% between 2007 and 2020, meaning it almost doubled the return of the S&P 500 for over a decade. If that doesn't tell you enough about the performance of the art market, this chart shows the price appreciation of art during times of inflation compared to other investments like the S&P 500, real estate, and gold. This platform has a lot of potential because of how it allows everyday investors like you and me to compete against the wealthy investors that have tons of purchasing power. And as a result, there is a waiting list for people who want to invest. But you guys, they're hooking it up for my viewers. And if you want to be the first ones in line, you guys can actually skip the waitlist using the special link in the description. So if you want to invest in this unique and growing market while it's still inaccessible for most, go and check out the link below. All right, so the next investment is coins, which is also high on the list of weird things to put your money into. But like all of the other investments on this list, it can be very profitable. The well-known coin collector John Pittman spent decades building up a coin collection, and you'll be surprised at how much he was able to profit from all the time he spent researching and negotiating. For example, he bought a gold $5 half eagle for $635 in 1954, which then sold for $467,500 in 1997. That's more than a 70,000% increase. What's even more crazy is the fact that over the course of his lifetime, Pittman invested around $100,000 in his collection, and after his death, the coins would sell for over $30 million. So if you have an eye for coins or collectibles, there's some really great options to get started with, such as modern bullion coins, the Canadian maple leaf silver coins, and the American gold eagles. The good thing is that many coins gain value, and if you ever want to sell your collection, you'll most likely get all of your investment back, which is definitely a good quality that you do want for your investments. However, I guess the trade-off is that finding rare coins to invest into is not something simple that can be learned in a short period of time. Because yeah, it often takes years and sometimes even decades to build up a valuable coin collection. So yeah, investing in coins is a long-term investment, and you shouldn't just go into it trying to flip coins for a quick profit, because most successful coin investors had a long-term vision that took years to build. Just like stocks or crypto, you want to do your own due diligence and research before you buy so that you can fully understand the investment that you are going to make. Even though the coin market has changed over the last few decades, investing into coins could definitely net you a ton of profit if you spend the time researching for the best coins out there. And nowadays with the internet, it's much easier to find, learn, and research coin collecting. Okay, so moving on to the next non-traditional investment, we have watches. So the watch world is absolutely crazy, and it's also one of the most profitable on this list, at least as of recently. For example, if you follow channels like the Timepiece Gentleman, you'd see how much the value of watches has increased in the last few years. You used to be able to pick up a Rolex Submariner from an authorized dealer easily at MSRP or even discounted, but now it's almost impossible unless you have an extensive purchase history or you know them really, really well. For example, my Rolex Submariner, which I was lucky enough to buy as an investment for about $9,000 after tax, is probably probably worth closer to $13,000 or more right now. That's a 44% increase in under one single year. Most people think of watches as something for the rich to collect, but if you are a fan of putting your money into worthy assets, you probably know that watch collecting is definitely a profitable hobby. Business Insider compared buying a Rolex Daytona back in October of 2020 to investing in the S&P 500, and the Rolex ended up beating the fund by $3,000. And to top it off, a report from McKinsey shows that the pre-owned luxury watch market is set to be the industry's fastest growing retail segment, topping $29 billion by 2025. On average, Rolexes have gained 21% or more in value in the past year, which is just absolutely crazy considering we're talking about watches that you can literally wear. Another really cool thing about watches is that the markets sell fast, meaning your investment becomes a pretty flexible asset that can easily and safely be turned back into cash and profit. There are tons of watch brands out there, and everyone knows about Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin, Omega or Patek Philippe. And the great thing about collecting watches, in my opinion, is you get to wear it too. As long as you choose the right type of watch and buy at the right price, it will likely hold its value or go up over time. Now, if you can get any of the watches I mentioned in this video at MSRP, which by the way is almost impossible for some models, then you will instantly make money too. So even though most watches are held for a shorter amount of time, unlike wine, there's still a really amazing investment that you can use to make profit, and you get to wear a timepiece on your wrist. So yeah, my Rolex was definitely one of the best purchases I made last year. Next up, we are talking about another secret world of investing that the ultra wealthy do, where you literally invest in startup companies that have a 90% plus chance of failing in return for equity. Back in the early 2000s, 50 Cent became a venture capitalist for the company behind Vitamin Water to launch his own Vitamin Water brand, Formula 50, giving him a 5% equity stake in the company. This investment into a company that had nothing to do with 50 Cent's rapping career proved to be a really smart decision, because once it was bought by Coca-Cola in 2007, 50 Cent earned over $50 million. Even today, we see tons of celebrities and athletes pouring money into venture capital. It's risky, but if you invest in enough companies, then there's a chance that one of them becomes a 100 bagger, which is where people win. I just started investing in venture capital last year, and it has definitely been an exciting journey. You can even invest in venture capital through companies like Sweater, meaning you're putting your money in a fund that uses that money to invest in VC, and you can get a portion of those gains. Overall, there's lots of potential in VC, but you have to know that even if the company's valuation grows, meaning your investment grows as well, you can't realize the gains very easily at all. The company still has to be bought or go public for you to actually realize those gains, and if they don't, your investment literally goes to zero. But if and when the gains do come, they will likely be significant. Just know that for most angel investing in venture capital, you will have to be an accredited investor to participate. So there are income requirements as well as net worth requirements. So now, without doubt, the highest ROI for almost everyone watching this video is not going to be investing in outside companies or physical assets, but rather taking your money and starting a business. If you know me, I'm a huge proponent of starting your own business or side hustle, and more specifically, starting off with a service-based business that can literally 100 to 1000x your initial investment. For example, a great service-based business I would consider starting today is an email marketing agency. You help people write marketing emails in exchange for a monthly retainer or fee. The startup cost is just a computer and internet connection, things that you probably already have, as well as knowledge about writing good persuasive emails. You are providing a skill, and they are paying for that service. With this, it's possible that you turn a $1,000 laptop purchase or investment into, let's say, $10,000 of fees per month, which is completely doable. So bam, 120x return on your investment in the first year. Of course, you're putting in your time, but businesses like this allow you to scale by hiring writers to help with content delivery, meaning you can leverage and begin making money somewhat passively. Lots of businesses can also be sold, meaning if you do it right, you'll own a business that makes positive cash flow each month and build equity in a business that can later be sold for a substantial amount of money. A great example of this is Mr. Beast, who I've recently been learning a lot about. According to multiple podcasts, he's invested back into his videos since the very beginning, leading him to where he's now spending over $4 million a month on his videos. This continuous investment back into his YouTube videos obviously yielded him a huge return, as he now makes over $15 million per year. Another good example of someone who invested in their business is Do-Wan Chang, who's the founder of Forever 21. Before launching his retail empire, he worked as a janitor at a gas station and in a coffee shop when he first moved to America from South Korea. After saving $11,000, he opened up the first store with his wife in LA, and all of his savings were invested into that business. Because he invested in his business, it would grow to rake in $4.4 billion each year at the peak in 2015. Investing in businesses businesses was the best ROI of my entire life. Yes, I lost money on various businesses, but eventually you'll get a business that becomes a cash flow machine and makes all those previous losses look like nothing. And I really am a small fish. There are tons of entrepreneurs out there making way more money, all from an initial investment into their own business. So yeah, that's why I really emphasize entrepreneurship on this channel. It's because it can be the best ROI out of all the investments you make in your life, and I'm pretty much living proof of that. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you guys want to get some free stocks and crypto, make sure to check out the links below. And of course, with all investing, especially these more non-traditional investments that, normally carry a lot more risk, you definitely need to do your own due diligence and research. If any of these things entices you, learn more about it, practice with a little bit of money, and eventually maybe one of these non-traditional investments can make you a ton of money. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe for more videos just like this. I make a ton of content about personal finance, investing, and entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.